Between school, your friends, and social media, answers are everywhere, but where can you find the truth? Welcome to the Well StudentCast. We're asking for a friend so you don't have to.
What's up, party people? We are back at the Well StudentCast asking questions for a friend so you don't have to. My name is Bryn, and this is my friend.
K-A-O. And we are here with our friends. They are back. They're actually still here.
They're still here.
Yeah.
Because if you noticed, last week or 2 weeks ago, we talked about ladies, what should you be looking for in a guy if you want to date him? And now this week, gentlemen, it's your turn. We're asking the question for you guys. What should you be looking for in a girl if you're interested in dating them?
Exactly. And just remember, all human beings are more complex than what we think. These are just like, if you hit the 5 boxes, we're going to get married. The whole idea is that, hey, here's some things. If you don't know where to start, here's what we're looking for. And then ladies, no conviction for you or shame or guilt. The idea is that, hey, as you're listening, really reflect, being like, hey, am I being some of the things that they're looking for? And if I'm not, maybe some things I can work on and bring that to the Lord. So that's that piece of it too. So, that's then in addition to that, we have to hit that disclaimer. So Mallory did a great job last time. We got to hit this disclaimer again for the fellas. It's like, hey, although we're saying, hey, these are some things that maybe possibly if you're ready to date, you're looking to date, here's some things you look for. You do got to start somewhere, right, James? Mm-hmm. And it's not them.
It's not them.
It's us.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to draw that circle around yourself and understand who you are and what you want. Like what you want. Yeah.
Yeah. James, you mentioned something earlier too. It's really important. It's the idea that like, hey, like we don't really, especially if it's our students, we're really processing who am I? What does the Lord have wired in me? And for us to like, if we can't even start there and be like, okay, here's some things, some pitfalls or some tendencies I have. What's going to happen is we're going to place a lot of that being like, well, I thought the girl was perfect and it's not fixing anything. Mm-hmm. We're not recognizing that we might be actually the problem. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, I think, in my own life, and I talked about this a couple weeks ago, but also, did you guys like that? I talked about that a couple weeks ago, but I think that, it's okay to be single. It's okay to understand that you're trying to figure out who you are and where you're going to be, especially in high school. I mean, it is an okay thing. Just because your friends are dating and they've got a fun relationship that lasted for a few months, and it's okay that you're not that person. Mm-hmm. And I think that's important to understand because I think that there's so many pressures from everybody, Instagram, TikTok, you name it, that says, well, if you're not dating, then there's something wrong with you, which is just isn't true. It's just not true.
Are we addressing the myth that a relationship doesn't fix everything in your life?
Wow.
That's a myth?
Well, speaking of things that aren't myths, here's some fires about probably about 5 things that we want to categorize that would be like, hey, for women or ladies, this is what, or fellas, this is what you should be looking for into some of our ladies out there. So I would probably say first one on the list is confidence. Mm-hmm. The fact that she is strong within her identity in the Lord. Like she knows where that's at. She is unwavering in those things. There's something that's like attractive about someone who's confident and her identity is like secured. And that doesn't like need approval. Like for me, even too, like I was like, the first reason I was like, oh, wow, I'm like attracted to my wife is the fact that she didn't need a guy's approval. Mm-hmm. She knew who she was confident in that, and she was running towards what she felt like God was calling her to do. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of like, if you're not willing to run after the Lord too, then you have no business to be dating me. And I was like, that is like what I want to date,
It's so good.
Wow.
Cassie.
That's great. Yeah, no, we were talking about this a little bit earlier. Just having someone that's motivated to and with their own goals and own ideas and own dreams. That way, your 2 lives aren't intersecting in the same exact way because it's important to run your own race. But like A.O. said, like when you're pursuing each other, you're also pursuing God. That way, you're running the race towards each other, but also toward God.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good.
And girls, what I'm hearing is that means that your value isn't like either being confirmed or destroyed by the guy's opinion of like whoever you're interested in. Is that what you guys saw in the people that you end up marrying?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Like identity was found in the Lord, and really, while my like words would have attributed, all I'm doing is like affirming and recognizing what God's already told her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think I would be remiss in saying like one of the reasons why I was attracted to my wife, one is because she's hot, and 2 is because she loves God, right?
That's a freebie in there.
Yeah, it's just like it's like a 1A.
Yeah,
okay?
one. I like that.
Yeah,
that's good. 1A.
Yeah, and so like anyway, when I was pursuing women prior to Morgan, it was like I was much more attracted to somebody that had a relationship with God, and I think that is something that you talk about how God changes your heart to the desires of His heart. When your heart is right in right relationship with God, the heart that you're seeking is also somebody that is in right relationship with God.
So
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
good.
totally.
That's really good. All right, let's go for our second one. What's our second one here? If first one's confidence, what's the second one?
I mean, I know we talked about it in the other episode, but
They can have some crossover.
yeah, just crossover.
What?
I think it's equally important probably for guys of like who that girl is around, right? Who is she to others, and you know, is she actively pursuing community and friends that lead her to the Lord versus people who don't, you know?
No, I agree. I feel like, sorry, I just took a sip of coffee, cup of joy, yum, yum. But yeah, the idea that if she's like known in a community,
Yum,
then I know that like she is being honest in the places and places that where she's at. And to the point where like codependency can't be a thing. And this idea that like, yeah, I can be there for her as well, but I'm not her main source of processing.
Yeah.
She has a community of women that are pushing her, encouraging her. And honestly, I really shouldn't, I'm dating her. There's places and spaces that I really shouldn't speak into.
Yeah.
Or I don't really have the right to anyway.
Good.
And she needs those women around her that was going to keep pushing her and affirming her in ways that are going to meet her needs that like I don't really deserve to be doing yet, you know, because I'm not married to her, but the idea of dating, right? So
This is like a question, I guess, on that. Because I mean, I'm a girl, but for you guys, like guy, I'm sorry, guy perspective
bullet.
on this one is like, in the community aspect, is it like something that you guys look for, that a girl maintains relationships like in longevity? Like I feel like a thing that we see with a lot of girls is like different best friends every day, or like hopping group to group all the time. I'm not saying that girls can't have friend drama, but is that something that you would say they should look for in a girl, that they're able to kind of stay out of the drama with their community?
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's a personal thing. Like everybody's a little bit different. Me personally, the drama is it's a 0 for me. Like I don't do any drama, really can't stand it. So I think one of the things you said is like the longevity of a relationship. Is that important? It's important to a certain degree. I think that it speaks to the level of commitment to whoever you're dating at that time. And it goes into a lot of different character traits as well about that person. But it could just be, it could just be because that person that they were dating was a good match as well. I don't think that it's necessarily something that you would look for in somebody. Now, if that person is known as somebody that gets around, then probably that is a red flag. But if it's a longevity thing, it's not, it's not the worst thing in the world.
that's good. I feel like I would want to see that someone's willing to fight for a relationship and willing to like own their percentage. Like if there was conflict, like I'm looking for someone that's like humble enough to be like, you're right. Like I kind of messed up there. I was the one that actually instigated versus like, you know what? That's all on you.
Yeah.
Someone who's going to run away from conflict, but actually be like, I want to enter in and fight for it. Because then that translates to the fact that then like, oh, if I have conflict with her, then like she's willing to be like, no, let's fight for this because this matters.
Yeah.
Until we've exhausted our resources and be like, you know what? Actually, it's not a great fit. You know,
Not just always talking like everyone else, like all these other girls are the worst.
Yeah.
And like I'm always the one that is the victim.
yeah, like how she speaks of other people. Like, I don't know about you, James, but like one of like a lot of students that I've like talked over with coffee, but even my own life, it's like, I think we worry a lot about image a lot and like our reputation. And so like how she talks about me in her friend circles matter. And so, and I know I can gauge how she talks about me by how she talks about her friends.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's important. That would be important to me, and something to look for, like how she talks of other people. Not even like her own, I guess her reputation is important, but like really how she discusses other people to me, I think would be one too, Or like in scripture, it's like, are her words like honey, like I think that's important.
And not gossipy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because then you're just tearing down people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
I was going to ask if that's something I feel like for guys, if they look for, because like I know in my own relationship with my husband, like my words matter. And even just like if I'm building him up or tearing him down, and so as a girl, like that's important. Like what we say matters just in general. But when you're dating someone, like guys really can hold on to that, whether you're like affirming him in different things or always talking about like the ways that he doesn't measure up, right? Just knowing that like I don't want to be someone who's telling my husband that he's a failure or like communicating in such a way that he feels like he's a failure or he's not doing enough, or he's not enough, or that sort of thing, And so I think that's.
No, I think that's really good because like in my own life, because of the way that God made me and made a lot of men, like KO does a really good job of communicating. I'm not the greatest communicator in the world. And so when my wife does affirm me or she does tear me down, I don't generally address that right there or even in the near future. Like it's usually something that I stuff in a hole and it just kind of sits there and festers. So I think it is, I think that's great.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
What else do you guys look for?
James was like, and here we go. I also think another one is just this idea that we like. I think I also said in the other one, but the 2 weeks ago podcast. But the idea is that you don't take yourself so seriously. Willing to have fun, willing to make fun of yourself, willing to laugh at like your own silly mistakes. I think if we're talking about specifically about dating, what you're looking for someone is someone that's just going to be fun. So I think guys, you want to find someone who's fun too. That like laughs at your humor, but like genuinely laughs, not like pity laughs at your dad jokes.
I mean, there's some of that too.
Sure.
There's a balance.
Sure.
I
think I'm funny. My wife might disagree.
We're not that funny. I don't know if you got that.
Hey, we're using our words to build each other up.
For sure. Sorry, my bad.
But yeah, the idea that they just have fun.
But sarcasm's good. Sarcasm's
Yeah,
okay.
but in that fun that I banter, right? Because I feel like for a lot of guys, we speak banter. Because that's even in our other friendships as well. We do like tend to like not really degrade or like make fun of, but this idea of like fun banter that can be playful.
That's good.
And if it's constantly hurting your feelings, this would be tough.
Yeah.
So you want to find someone that can get you and kind of be like, hey, I mean, there are times when we cross the line. I confess that. But the idea that it's fun and like, does that make sense? I don't know.
That's
I feel
good.
like I'm talking loops at this point.
No, I obviously have my own relationship to speak about, but the times when I do enter in and be playful, if Jeff is trying to tease me or just be funny, and if I'm like, no, that's like,
Us
you're
ungodly.
dumb, you're dumb, or like, that's so stupid or whatever, or like, leave me alone, I'm tired. Like, I don't want to deal with that, whatever.
And poor Jeff.
I know. But I think if I can just kind of like relax a little bit, like even if I am stressed out or if there's like a lot going on, but I can just kind of like that banter of kind of dishing it back out to him or whatever. Like, I think he like that speaks love to him, right? And so I think that's it. That is really important for girls. And for girls, I think when you're dating in high school, I knew my own self in high school. I was so worried about looking perfect or looking right. And so if a guy was like trying to tease or be playful, but it felt like he was making fun of me.
Yeah, that's why I said we suck sometimes.
Yeah, then it was like, the end of the world because I was so hurt by it, you know? So I think that is a good thing of not to take yourself too seriously. And that goes back to just knowing yourself, the confidence, but even like if you are insecure, like knowing that about yourself enough to where it's like, hey, I can still enter in even in the midst of like insecurities or different things.
That's good.
Yeah. What are you going to say, James? I also think one, I'm just going to be a freebie. We can push back on it. But I think also one, I think even hearing from other students too, it's like a girl who's willing to like serve, willing to get outside of herself and like her focus on her and her own like sphere of influence, but like looking for ways that she can give, looking for ways that she can like care for others and seeing how she does that. I think that's something I would look for, in someone as well. I mean, I look for it in my wife, but I don't know.
No, I was laughing because I was given advice when I was single from one of the former kids ministry people here, Jeremy. This was a long time ago. And he was like, hey, you should start serving. You know why? Because there's a lot of women that serve.
I was wondering why you're giggling looking at me.
And there's generally like good godly women that are serving. So like if you find a girl that's serving, a woman that's serving, she probably has
the other categories.
And that's how we got James in our ministry.
That's how I met Jeff.
And here I am a decade later.
I also met Cassie. She was serving.
Right.
Yeah.
No, so I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, and you see
and
that
Serve
I
Weeks
feel
this
like
week, so
it is, but
it
you
was
see
a
that
couple
means
weeks,
that that girl, like, I don't know, values, if they're serving out of the right heart, they're serving out of just honor of the Lord, and then like eyes off of self and onto him and then out onto like his people, in whatever way that is. It doesn't have to look a specific way, but I feel like that is such a good trait.
Yeah.
And by the way, just a little encouragement for our high schoolers. Like, I'm so encouraged by this generation because they are serving. Like, I drop my 2-year-old off every Sunday, and I'm like, hey, here you go, Luke. I see you every Wednesday, and there's my guy. And like, I think it's amazing. I think it's really great.
That's really cool.
That is really cool. Well, I think that kind of hits like our 5. Is there any other freebies before we wrap up? Little bonuses for them. Ladies, what about from your perspective? You're like,
I don't necessarily have like a trait. I think more so just wanting the girls to hear, if you're sitting here being like, I don't think I do one of those things, don't just try to do this so that a guy likes you. Like,
I would totally do that, actually.
Oh my gosh, I'm hearing it. I'm like, write that down, write that down. I'm like, no, like,
this is how they see me. This is how they see me.
But make sure like, no, these things come from, like, these are fruit of your relationship with the Lord and your confidence in him and who he's called you to be first. The things that James and Keo are saying that they see as attractive or that like guys should look for in a girl is because they're looking for, like, they're encouraging the guys to look for a girl who's living out who God's created them to be. And so if you're sitting here being like, okay, this is how I'm going to get a boyfriend for Christmas. No, like, press pause, pump the brakes real quick. And first, just start with like,
5 easy
where are
steps to
you
get a
at
boyfriend
with
before
the
Christmas.
Lord?
That is the title of this podcast.
That's so good. So many clicks. But no, for real, I think it would break my heart if like the takeaway from this is like, okay, I need to do this to get a boyfriend. Yes. But no, like, this is us wanting you to walk in freedom with the Lord as your creator first. If a guy comes along the way, great. But like, you don't need that. Yeah. So I don't know. That's my TED Talk.
Someone said like, know who you are. Like,
know who you are, like who you are, be who you are.
Yeah.
That's good.
So, which I think is really important. Like, as a girl, all the insecurities, I know for myself, what I can struggle with is out of the wanting to be accepted in love, I can morph and change who I am depending on who I'm around. So that way they like me. And I agree. I don't want girls to hear this and say like, I have to change who I am, or in the sense of like, I have to change who I am because how God created me wasn't right. Totally. If you're listening to this and you're like, I do gossip and I'm not really like living this out very well. Again, like we said before, like, there's no shame and condemnation in Christ. And so we encourage you to walk with people to walk that out. But if you are feeling like who God made you to be is not enough, that's like not what we're saying.
Totally. And what a like cool thing to encourage too, in the sense of like, we're doing both these episodes because there are people in your season who are like, I want to value like godly character first. We might not know where to start sometimes, but I hope like, ladies, you hear in what these guys are talking about, and like, thank you guys for living that out of like, there are people who value your heart for the Lord first and not like just what you'll do for them kind of thing. Yeah. So thanks guys.
Yeah.
I have one last little
shameless
James.
Come on, James.
Shameless plug. One of the things I was thinking about that I was looking for in Morgan was something that I didn't have in me, so that she could help me. So like, she's very gracious. I am not. So like, that is just one easy example for her and I. But I think that's one of the things from a guy's perspective that I was looking for in a girl is, where could she help better me?
That's good.
That's good. Yeah. That's really good. All right. We heard
any encouragement to the guys before we close out?
Yeah. I think we should probably encourage them. Words matter.
Words matter.
Words matter. Yeah. And I would just say, fellas, as like you kind of look around, I think what happens often is we'll try and be like, here's the bar for us, for the ladies, and what we're looking for, at least the desires of our hearts. Not saying that this is the standard they need to be at. But then what happens is we're like, you know what? It's just like sort of there. And like, honestly, it could make it work. Yeah. We can compromise because oftentimes relationship is a status for us. So I encourage fellas, if there's no one around where you're like, hey, look, that's what we're looking for. That's what I was encouraged to look for. Then let's not bust open down a door and be like, we're going to make God's provision happen. Let's just wait and let's just be okay with the waiting. Yeah. Being like, the Lord's probably doing something in you still. Yeah, and so good. I would just encourage you fellas, it's not like, all right, here's my 5 steps, check, girl, you're mine. I would just say, hey, be patient and be willing to wait on the Lord. And that's you trusting that he has your best interest in mind, So that's what I encourage you guys to do as well. And then also remember, this is kind of goes back to Matthew when Jesus is talking about like, hey, like, don't point out the sin in others if you're not willing to look at the sin in yourself, with the plank in your own eye versus a speck. And so even as you hear the things to be looking for, really do like a deep dive in yourself, being like, am I even in a place to date someone, or would I drag them down? You know, instead of encouraging and empower them to be the person that God called them to be. I think that's our rightful duty as men. So, but that's my last encouragement.
Last little plug. Song of Solomon series, incredible.
So good.
You need to watch it.
That's good.
We have a YouTube playlist of when we did it for high schoolers a couple years ago. So if you want the link, DM us and we'll
send it your way.
We'll send it your way. And I'm sorry,
yeah,
I can't
Bryn,
shut up. Apparently, I have one last thing. So sorry. One last thing. I think if you listen to this one or the one 2 weeks ago and you're in a relationship, and some people are going to hate me for saying this, but if you're in a relationship and you're like, wow, our relationship, one or the other of us don't have these characteristics, there's not a ring yet, and it's okay to break up. Like, it is okay. So everyone's like, Bryn, shut up, don't say that. Who's
and
listening?
all the relationships blew up.
So sorry, everyone. But I don't want people to feel stuck. Like, I feel like I did that in high school, and I just, like, if it's not there, you can break up. It's okay.
It's okay.
This is your permission if you needed
and
it.
maybe seeing why you won't break up if it's not there.
Totally.
Right? Something in yourself.
So good.
That's good.
Okay, that was my last thing. So sorry.
I love that. Permission to break up. All right. Well, I think that's it. We ran out of time. Obviously, this is something we can talk about a lot and is always on the front of our own minds and even the minds of our students. And so as we process relationship, keep bringing people in and keep subscribe and like us, because you never know. We might bust down another episode of like relationships. So
might bust a rhyme. That's good. All right. This is good.
The coffee's hitting. We got to go. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Well StudentCast. As always, don't forget to subscribe and tell your friends about us. For more information about the Well Student Ministries, visit thewellcommunity.org/students.